This is a stimulus check update and daily news report. Got some important updates to share with you. Congress is saying that it'll take up the Build Back Better plan as early as next week after the voting rights, according to Pramila Jayapal. I'll play the video clip of what she says, where Joe Manchin stands, and what's going on with the future of the child tax credit. We'll go over the latest stimulus check articles like this. Stimulus update. These 5 groups will be getting more stimulus money in 2022. Inflation hit 7% and grocery store shelves are emptying out. I'll give you the latest of what's going on there. Also, I'll play a video clip from Rand Paul for his rebuttal against Dr. Fauci during that heated exchange. I'll give you some other more important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Thursday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced update, hit the like button down below. So inflation rises 7% over the past year, highest since 1982, and a lot of people are feeling it. Grocery store prices have gone up 15% for food, and a lot of other big increases, including gas, housing. So how is this affecting Americans? It's actually a lot worse than we thought. So grocery stores still have empty shelves amid supply chain disruptions, Omicron, and winter storms. So not only are prices going up, but grocery stores are getting empty shelves. Here's a video clip explaining more of what's going on.
It's happening at grocery stores across the country.
That much lettuce.
Store shelves nearly empty of fruits, vegetables, beef and chicken, even some cereals, bakery and juice items hard to find.
The only milk I can get were 2 tiny bottles of fat-free, so my kids will not be happy about that.
In a typical year, 5 to 10% of grocery items may be unavailable. Today, nationwide, roughly 15% are out of stock. The National Grocers Association tells NBC News, while there is plenty of food in the supply chain, we anticipate consumers will continue to experience sporadic disruptions in certain product categories.
Without major transformation of everything to do in food, farms, retailers, food companies, we're going to see shortages and price increases for the next 12 to 18 months.
The reasons are many. Soaring demand for groceries, with Americans choosing to eat at home during the Omicron surge. Large numbers of food manufacturers and grocery employees out sick with COVID, as many as 50% in some stores. Winter storms paralyzing major interstates, and a backed-up supply chain with a shortage of 80,000 truck drivers nationwide. NBC's Jolene Kent with Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg in L.A.
Right now, we have something like 300,000 truck drivers leaving that job every single year. And that creates backups into the warehouses that are reflected all the way here at the ports.
Experts say store shelves may not improve until the pandemic recedes, staffing levels return to normal, and the global food distribution network is restored.
So far, 2022 is not off to the best start. Let me know, are there grocery store shelves empty near you? Remember, for a while they weren't empty, then back again. Now again, it seems like they're emptying out. Let me know your case. Are they emptying out? Let me know down in the comments below. So there's a growing push in Congress to limit lawmakers' ability to trade stocks. So this could be a very corrupt thing, because a company could lobby to Congress, any Congress member, and say, hey, we are putting out a new pharmaceutical drug, and if you buy our stock, it's going to go from $10 to $20, and then that politician just may double their money pretty much. So what's going on here is Congress often talks tough about reining in on Wall Street, but now there's growing pressure on Capitol Hill to curb lawmakers' own trading. Senator Jon Ossoff plans to introduce legislation by the end of the week that would require members of Congress to put their assets in a blind trust. Ossoff is not alone. There's some bipartisan support in Congress for limiting members' trading activity, including Republican House Leader Kevin McCarthy. Now, one of the people who are against this, I feel like to civilians it makes complete sense. You should limit their stock trades. I think everyone would agree. But one of the people against it is Nancy Pelosi, who, by the way, has a net worth of over $100 million. But she's fighting for the ability for Congress members to trade stocks. So not sure what's going on there. When it comes to more stimulus funds, Steny Hoyer says that White House to ask for more pandemic relief funds. Republican support is uncertain amid questions about the pace of approved aid and spending. So we've heard the White House, we've heard Democrats trying to get more spending in place due to the rise in Omicron cases and what's going on in the economy with potential lockdowns, although nothing is locked down yet. Senate Democrats offered Manchin a huge compromise on checks and parents, then Manchin blew it up and they don't know why. So Manchin has never been on board, so not sure why Democrats are surprised at anything he does. So when it comes to the child tax credit and the Build Back Better plan, down but not out. Democrats plot course for child tax credit as payments end. So technically, the child tax credits are not ending; they're just going from $3,000 or $3,600 down to $2,000. So, which is what it was before the whole child tax credit got its big bump. So, child tax credits technically are still going on, not on a monthly basis, but at the end of or when you file your taxes. And Joe Manchin seems to not be on board. Here's what Pramila Jayapal has to say about the Build Back Better and Joe Manchin.
How do we, in your view, what's the next step? We heard from Senator Manchin. You have urged President Biden to maybe go it alone with some executive action for some of the initiatives in Build Back Better. Can it be resurrected legislatively with Senator Manchin, in your view, at this point?
Joe, I believe it can. Senator Manchin did call me after he gave that interview on Fox News, and we talked about the fact that the bill that he had, the framework that he had agreed to just a month before he had given his commitment to the president on that framework, was a little bit different than the House bill that we passed. The House bill had a few more things in it that Senator Manchin had not agreed to. And typically in the legislative process, that's a discussion. You can take those things back out if you really can't get 50 votes. And I think in the end, our view is that we can do Build Back Better very close to the framework that Senator Manchin committed to the president on. So right now, we are in the midst of a big push on voting rights, as you know. And as soon as that is done, probably next week, our attention will turn back to Build Back Better. It has passed the House with all but one Democrat voting for it. Unfortunately, no Republicans, just like the American Rescue Plan, which was incredibly successful, popular, and helped our markets to continue and our economy to continue to grow. We might have to do this alone, unfortunately. But it will provide universal childcare, universal pre-K, investments in housing. It will drive economic recovery, continue to drive economic recovery, just as the American Rescue Plan did. So my hope is that we get it done in the next several weeks, certainly within the next month.
Congresswoman, the state of the state, I guess, or the state of the union, or the state of whatever you want to call in Congress right now. I'm just wondering whether, and we have people from both sides of the aisle on here. We're always friendly. We're always talking. We like to try to come to some consensus. That's what the American people want. But it just seems kind of poisoned right now in Washington, D.C. And I'll just reference something that the president said yesterday, that Americans opposed to the voting rights are domestic enemies, are essentially domestic enemies. In the past, he has said he would never question motive of his opponents, just their views. But I think we've gone away from where we just question the other side's opinions or policies, and we're actually questioning motive. Do you think we're there, and is there any hope that we can come back from that, in your view?
Well, I think that it is a really tough time, and I think a lot of it stems from the January 6th and the refusal of some of our colleagues to even say that that was an insurrection, that there were, that was the most violent attack on the United States Capitol since the War of 1812. I think that is where some of this stems from, the refusal to even admit that the president is the duly elected president of the United States. But that said, Joe, I can just tell you that there are a number of things that we continue to work with our colleagues on across the aisle, but sometimes, and voting rights is one, and unfortunately, Build Back Better, the American Rescue Plan, we kind of laughed and said, no Republican voted for that, but everybody went back and bragged about how much money it brought into their district. That will be the case with Build Back Better as well. And so I think we can't necessarily say that everything is hunky-dory on the Hill, but I do think that there are still many things happening, some of which can continue to be bipartisan, like our antitrust bills are very bipartisan. There are other places where we have a lot of commonality with our colleagues on the other side. But unfortunately, many of the big things right now are partisan only because of the filibuster and the requirement that you need 10 additional votes in the Senate. if you didn't have that additional requirement, you could have bipartisan bills passing with 2, 3, 4, 5 Republican votes, and everybody would say how great, this is a bipartisan bill. So I think that's sort of where we are. But I am a perpetual optimist in terms of how we get work done for the country that helps lower costs for Americans and creates opportunity for their lives.
Pramila Jayapal, as usual, very optimistic that things are going to get done, although Joe Manchin says otherwise. But we'll see what happens. So we could see it as early as next week, depending on how long the voting rights takes to get done. But that's another issue with Joe Manchin, where Joe Manchin is saying that he's not fully on board with the voting rights. So this could be another issue where Democrats set the vote for Monday the 17th. Joe Manchin's not on board. They push it to Friday. Then they push it to the following Friday. Then they push it to March, then April. Who knows? That's how it works in Congress. But I'll keep you updated. Here's the latest stimulus check articles. New $1,000 stimulus checks could go out to essential workers under proposal. I mentioned this yesterday. So in Oregon, Democratic lawmakers are said to be reviving a proposal that would provide essential employees with $1,000 stimulus checks. So this is going to go to anybody who worked from April of 2020 to December of 2020. And there's a certain hour, you had to make less than $22 per hour, as well as a few other requirements. But yeah, could be potential $1,000 hazard pay checks there. Haven't really seen hazard pay being used in other states like that. When it comes to this one, stimulus payments worth up to $5,000 can be claimed by millions of families this month. Are you eligible? So what this is talking about is basically past stimulus checks. If you did not receive your third stimulus check, you could claim it with your taxes starting January 24th, as well as the child tax credit. So you could get the other half of your child tax credit, so either $1,800 or $1,500. And basically with that math, they're saying that you could get up to $5,000. So between the child tax credit and the missing stimulus check. Then this article, stimulus update. These 5 groups will be getting more stimulus money in 2022. So I'll go through this really quick over the different groups. So first, families who qualified for but did not claim the monthly child tax credit payments. So if you did not get the monthly child tax credit and you're eligible for it, you'll get either $3,000 or $3,600 as soon as you file your taxes January 24th of this year. Then parents with babies born or adopted in 2021, if you had a baby born or you adopted a baby in 2021, then you're eligible for a $1,400 check. That's the third stimulus check that you would get for any dependents. Then people who had significant changes to their income year over year. So this would be considered a plus-up payment. If your income was really high before and then it lowered down, then you're eligible for either more of a partial stimulus check or the stimulus check in general. Then those who qualified but missed out on the third stimulus payment. So if for whatever reason you did not get that third $1,400 stimulus check, then you could claim it like a rebate recovery credit for your January 24th taxes. Get $1,400 there. And parents who qualify to claim the second half of the child tax credit money. Yeah, so this is just talking about that extra $1,500 or $1,800. So those are the 5 different ways. Switching gears here. So I played a heated video clip yesterday of Dr. Fauci and Senator Rand Paul going at each other. Here is what Rand Paul has to say about that heated exchange and what's moving forward with COVID.
The communication efforts are a mess and have only made things worse.
Tests are hard to find. They're costly, so it's, ineffective at the end of the day.
If you look at this data, your current plan is not working.
Americans are standing in extremely long lines to get a COVID test. In the future, the federal response must be more proactive in this space.
So, this was something else there. It got heated at times. President Biden's top health officials, including Dr. Fauci, facing bipartisan criticism over these confusing COVID guidelines. I mentioned it was heated. It had its moments. Kentucky Republican Rand Paul was in the middle of a lot of it. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning.
We played a lot of the back and forth for our audience already. I guess putting aside the spat with you and Dr. Fauci, I imagine you guys aren't going to dinner anytime soon. Putting that to the side, what was the headline from this hearing? Was it that we're all going to get it, every American? Or, for you, what was it?
You know, most of the discussion was about testing and the shortage of tests, but very few people were bringing up that this has to do really once again with Dr. Fauci and lack of strategy. His strategy or his exhortation is everybody should be tested. So if your 5-year-old tests positive, then everybody in the class should test, and then their brothers and sisters should test, then their parents should test. Guess what? Before you know it, we've got a lockdown because of over-testing. We are doing way too many tests. Never in the history of medicine have we been for testing people who are not sick. Let's test people who are sick, people who have symptoms, people who are worried about being around the elderly who have symptoms. Yes, let's do appropriate testing, but let's don't test everyone. We're doing way too many tests, and all the randomized testing in school is inappropriate and shouldn't be occurring.
Okay, so then Fauci was part of Operation Warp Speed, right? I mean, he was there inside the White House during the Trump years, and Democrats were banging on this group of people every minute of every hour of every day. And now what do we face with 2 years down the line? You can't get a test, short in supply, and the therapies have not been pursued at the level that they should have. Why?
Well, and I think the government narrative's changing, Fauci and others, because now more people have died under Biden's administration than died under Trump's. It was never fair to blame it on one politician, but the thing is more people have now died. So you see a new rhetoric coming out of government. Well, 75% of the deaths have 4 comorbidities. They're very sick people. Well, many of us have been saying this from the very beginning, that there's an overcount of deaths, that there are people who come in an automobile accident, and then they also happen to have COVID. It's the same with the children in the hospital. Almost the vast majority of the children in the hospital that have COVID were admitted for other reasons, and then they were tested and found to have COVID. And since a lot of the children have no symptoms, the question is, what does that actually mean? But this is a real problem, but the government is finally shifting its rhetoric, even on the mask. You know, Fauci's been all in on cloth masks. Even his allies at CNN are saying cloth masks are merely facial decoration and don't work. Well, so we're coming to somewhere because they've shown that they've lost control completely of this thing. It's a contagion throughout the community, but the good news is it's much less deadly than the previous variants.
Rand Paul saying that a lot of the issues and spikes in cases are due to over-testing and that people should only test if they are sick. What do you think about that? Do you agree, disagree? Are we over-testing? Should people not be tested as much? Let me know your thoughts on all that down in the comments below. What do you think about Rand Paul's perspective on COVID in general? I'm really curious what you think about that. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you something that you should always do. Sometimes just sit on your bed or like sit at a table on like your counter and like sit down and take like 10 breaths. Breathe in and breathe out because you need yourself to feel relaxed. And that's all I wanted to tell you for today. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. As you can tell, I am super nasally in this video. My nose is just completely clogged. My sinuses are all backed up, but still wanted to show up and give you the latest updates. If you appreciate that, hit the like button. Subscribe for more videos like this. If you want to check out the latest videos on my other channels, you could click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.